It's time for more Manifesting Original Rich Bitch Experiences. I'm your host, Ava Beilke. Welcome back to the More Pod. I hope you are doing well. If there's one common thread through the show, it's that we're always exploring the ways to be more of who we are. I don't know about you, but I am always doing something, if not three things. Whether I'm building my business, burning it to the ground and rebuilding it, having a really expansive travel experience, or experimenting with some sort of new healing modality, I'm always trying to get to the truest version of myself. And one of the things that I've been really loving lately on the healing aspect of things is hypnotherapy. And so I've been experimenting with hypnotherapy. I've absolutely loved it. And I am really excited because my hypnotherapist, Leo, is going to join us today. And we're going to have a conversation about how hypnotherapy really helps to reveal our true selves. And so it should be, I know it's going to be a wild ride. I cannot wait to get into things. But before we do, I want to give you a little bit of background. So Leo Max is a spiritual hypnotherapist based outside of New York City who offers deep journeys into the subconscious for people to heal from the roots up. His work is a blend of roughly 8 styles of therapy rolled into one powerful service. As the founder of Restorative Hypnosis, he serves people who are tired of talk therapy, know that there's more to healing, and are really ready for the transformational power of truth. And truth it is. Get ready for the truth. Leo Max, welcome to the More Pod.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a good day when I get to come on and not be doing all the deep dives with people all the time and get to pop up to the surface of the water, look around and see what's happening up here. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you're here. And I guess that would be like this is a little bit of levity because your work does go so deep. And we've been doing hypnotherapy together for about 2 years now. And I've personally found it so transformational. And I love to tell people about it, but I always get a little tripped up in the logical explanation of what's going on because it is just so incredible and it deals a lot with, the subconscious. So I'm really excited to have a great conversation today. I want to talk all about hypnosis, hypnotherapy, and even some more unusual applications and topics as well. Before we dive in, I want to just kind of set a baseline here and really establish some definitions, working definitions of hypnosis and hypnotherapy.
Great. So I probably have different definitions than other people because I do hypnosis and hypnotherapy wildly different than most practitioners. But for me, hypno, I think of as the process and the state of mind of going into that deeper contemplative state where you're out of your ordinary reality, you have done some sort of consciousness shift, you've gone underneath the surface of the water a little bit, kind of like when you first wake up in the morning, you're kind of in the in-between. Mm-hmm. That's the best parallel I have. That is what I consider to be hypnosis. The only difference between hypnosis and maybe these other states people describe a lot, things such as when you're driving, you can go into a trance-like state or doing something very repetitive, something you've done a million times. You're kind of automatically doing something, but your mind is somewhere else. That's kind of a trancey state. The only difference is in a hypnosis session, we are bringing someone there very deliberately and very specifically and intentionally. So you might unintentionally go into a trance when you're filling up your water bottle and you're just waiting for it to fill and your eyes glaze over and you check out for a minute. That's a hypnotic trance, but you weren't intentionally going to that state. It was just a natural byproduct of the moment. So that is what I consider to be hypnosis, is the more structured format of going into that state. And then hypnotherapy is just all of the healing modalities that you use while you're in that state. So I consider hypnosis to be the arena and any of the therapeutic models to be the players that you bring into the arena. And you can bring one or many or none and just be in that state. And then you're just in a state of hypnosis without hypnotherapy. So those are my definitions.
I love that. And is this where your 8 kind of different modalities that you blend together will come into, like you said, like players in the arena?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So that's very unusual. Most people kind of stick to maybe 1 or 2 within hypno, the main ones that they might use. They might use NLP or just guided imagery, something like that. But over the years, I just found that state itself is so creative and so powerful. Why not bring as many of the tools that you've got into that state and see what the subconscious can do with it?
Absolutely. That is incredibly helpful. Thank you for that. Before we get too much deeper, I would love to understand your personal journey towards hypno, becoming a hypnotherapist. Give us a little bit of your backstory.
Sure. Yeah, hypno was not on my radar at all. Probably it would have been at the very bottom of the list. If you gave me a list of all the healing modalities, probably would have been the least interested in hypno. Because I think I just had the idea that most people had of, it's kind of weird, like the watch going back and forth, or stage hypnosis, or doing something against someone's autonomy or control. Like there's kind of these preconceived ideas of strange power dynamics that we might see. And I really didn't vibe with any of those things. And so it didn't interest me at all based on the reference points that I had. And in my 20s, I was living in New York City. I was working full-time as a freelance fashion stylist. So I was on sets with a lot of interesting people. Chit chat around the hair and makeup table is always interesting. Yeah. You get to meet all these fascinating people from around the world working with brands. And so I had a really good kind of social network and community of interesting, open-minded people I was connected to in that decade I was in New York. And I was always taking trainings. I was doing energy healing trainings and psychic trainings and astral projection trainings and all herbology. I was in the appetizer sampler phase for many years, which kind of drove me insane, to be honest, because I really just wanted to find something that I loved, but it just wasn't time. And that's okay. I think you're in that phase until you're not. All you can do is keep going and trying things. There's not much you can do. So I kept trying all these modalities that were interesting, but none of it was that ding, ding, ding moment. And for whatever reason, I was on YouTube. Thank you, YouTube algorithm gods. Yes. Something came up of a video of someone's hypnotherapy session. And the title was about like aliens and ancient Egypt and galactic ships and something like that. I was like, what the hell is this? And the video was like 3 hours long. I'm like, oh my God. So I found this woman who put up like 300 to 400 full sessions of her hypno sessions with her clients.
Wow.
And I just started binge watching them like telenovelas because they were better than TV. The real things coming out of people's mouths in hypno was so powerful because it felt so true. And that feeling of when someone is speaking from the depth of their soul and it just resonates on a different level. Mm-hmm. And when I saw those videos, all of the light bulbs went off in my head because I saw that really the hypnotherapist was mostly asking questions. That's what I liked the most about it. I'm not giving you a healing. I'm not telling you where to go. I'm not using a system or a structure that follows any sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rules like a lot of other systems do. Mm-hmm. It's very organic and it lets the client lead to where the healing is needed most. It's their session, their journey. And I loved that the most because a lot of the other things I was studying, like psychic trainings, meant that they were always going to rely on me when they had a question. They were always going to come back. Or there'd always be a sliver of, well, was he having a weird day? Was that a projection? It's always coming through our filters. Mm-hmm. If you get it, even if you get an amazing reading, mediumship, card, whatever. So I was always thinking, how can I take myself out of the equation? How can I remove any imbalance of leaning their power or wisdom onto me? And hypno was the perfect answer for that, because I could be there with them on the journey, side by side, leading and guiding next to them. But their subconscious is showing us where to go, not me.
Mm-hmm. And that's, first of all, I know you have Aquarius placements. So you're like, anything with aliens, you're like, wait, let me watch this. Like, what's going on here? So interested.
Yes. All Scorpio and Aquarius. So I found the perfect thing for me.
You're like, let me binge this. Makes absolute sense. And I also love the power of YouTube for like getting you on that track to finally like find that thing that just like set off those light bulbs for you. Like that feeling is so incredible. And like once you find something like that, it's just so comforting. So I can imagine, finally figuring out like, oh, this is my path. Probably just blew the doors right open and you were in it. Oh my
gosh. I don't think I was in it from basically that day. I haven't stepped out of it since that day. That was in early 2019. And then she happened to have an in-person training a couple months after I started watching her videos. Mm-hmm. I went, did the training, and the week I came back, I started doing practice sessions, and I haven't stopped. So that was amazing. October 2019.
Amazing. I love that. One of the other things that you touched on that I think is really important is you were describing basically like, there's autonomy in this practice, right? Where it's like you aren't telling somebody where they should end up. You're really just there as a guide, and you're creating the perfect setting for, the subconscious to really come to the surface and guide. But I think that's like a misconception about like hypnosis is like, oh, like, like you said earlier, it's like someone's like swinging a clock in front of your face and they're just going to like tell you what to think. And like, they're going to reprogram you. And it's like the way that you approach it is the opposite of that. And so I think it's really important to just like soak that in, and really, it's nice to hear that you resonate with that as a practitioner as well.
Yeah, and it's confusing because there are a lot of hypno styles that are more what we call direct suggestion. Mm-hmm. They're going to put you into trance, tell you to relax and close your eyes, and that your eyelids are getting heavy, and that you're never going to want a cigarette again. Cigarette's the worst thing for you. Anytime you think of a cigarette, you're going to have this horrible taste in your mouth, and it's going to be terrible. It's very, directive to your subconscious to constantly bombard it with these informational signals to kind of change a pattern or behavior. But to me, it made no sense because you never found out why the person had that behavior or pattern. There's never a question of, well, what is smoking doing for you? Like, what is that patching something? Is that giving you a feeling? Is it to be more connected? Is it to disconnect and dissociate? What's your mind's association with this pattern, whatever it is? And so this direct suggestion approach, it can work. Like people did stop smoking or feel better or lose weight or whatever the thing they were coming in for. But it doesn't have much longevity because it's just kind of putting a Band-Aid over something. You're taking an Advil when your head hurts instead of figuring out why your head hurts. Like it might work for a while, but it's a whack-a-mole game. It's going to pop up somewhere else in your life. So I consider that approach to be kind of the more masculine approach to hypnosis. And I practice more of the yin style of more longer sessions that are deeper with a lot more exploration and questions.
Yeah. I think that this would be a good time to talk a little bit about the conscious mind versus the subconscious and how, like, basically, break that down, but also understanding like how that can help us get to some of those deeper layers of root cause in the healing process.
Yeah, your conscious mind is really just designed to give you the most relevant information for what's happening right now in your life. That's really all it is. Your mind stores things and goes, okay, what do you need today? Ava. Leo, like what's happening in your life? What's on your to-do list? What's on your schedule? Who's texting on your phone? Do you have something happening this week? That's what your conscious mind is for relevancy to your present day life. Everything else is in your subconscious. Everything else. You're not thinking about your heart beating or your breathing. You're not thinking about what happened to you when you were 3, 4, 5 years old. You're not thinking about your parents' divorce from your conscious awareness. But that doesn't mean it's not still impacting you. So your subconscious is the storehouse that just says, maybe you don't need to think about this today. Maybe this doesn't need to be in your awareness. I know you got to record a podcast. If you could remember every horrible breakup, all the moves, everything on your list, you would not make it through this podcast because your mind would be in a million other places. So your mind is very intelligent and goes, let me hold on to that for you. I'm going to tuck this back here so that you can go live your life and go to work and be able to engage socially without bawling your eyes out or whatever is down in there. And so it creates just a separation. And your mind has this bodyguard that I like to think of it of even when we kind of try and go into that place, we have parts of our mind designed to keep us from going there. So I meet really well-intentioned people that want to heal, but if you don't have access to that from your conscious awareness, how are you going to heal that, number one? And number two, that's my biggest gripe with talk therapy. It only uses your conscious mind. So it's like, let me use the smallest tool. Let me go into my garage and let me pull out my nail file to chop down this tree. And then wonder why I'm so exhausted going over and over and over again. It's like, you're using the wrong tool for what you're trying to actually do.
It's a great analogy.
And so getting hypno is really, again, just the process of getting past that bouncer a little bit to where these important things are stored, because it's all still impacting you. It all bubbles up into your life from the subconscious. So it's deep down there in the water, but right now you have no idea. It's just doing God knows what. And you're living the effects of it. Your life is really the effects of what's in your subconscious mind. You want to know what's happening in your subconscious? Do a 360 scan of your life of every category, and that'll tell you what's in there.
If you're bold, if you're ready.
If you're bold. If you're bold. Yeah. And that's another good point. A lot of people don't do this as a practitioner or as a client because, it's harder. It's deeper. It's more emotional. It's more intense. You feel things more and you have to face stuff that's buried deep down in there. But it's not going to change any other way, really. Like, it's got to come out at some point, this lifetime or another.
It's true. I think our first one-on-one session that we did, one-on-one hypno, was maybe a little over a year ago. And it was 4 hours long. And it was very lovely, but it was also at the same time very intense. And I just remember, like, I lived off of like whatever happened in that like bubble for months because it is so much. It goes so much further beyond, again, like the things we're thinking, talking about all day long. And it's just really incredible because you're like, there's so much here. You don't really know what's going to come up. Like, basically, it's just a big like mystery. It's like the mystery lollipop. You're like, I'm going to choose that one and like just see where this goes. But I remember the first one-on-one we did, I think I was in like a 3-month like post-hypnosis. I don't even know what you call it. Is there a term for it? Like,
the hypnotic bubble.
Yeah. Yes. Incredible. And also unlike any other therapy I've tried to date, really.
It's very unusual. It's a very, very unusual type of healing. I think the closest thing to it is shamanic work and medicine and plant medicine work. It's basically a plant medicine ceremony, except you're not taking something. The medicine is you.
Yeah.
you're taking your own truth medicine and letting that become the ceremony to where you need to heal.
That's beautiful. With that sort of understanding of, the conscious versus the unconscious and kind of getting into those deeper layers, and just a little blurb of what I've kind of tested to, what does a session with you look like? Like, what can someone expect? Like, how does that happen?
People come in with a few things that they know are not working for them in their life. The other unusual thing about my hypno, I should continue to correct myself, my hypno, is that it covers mind, body, and soul. That's very, very unusual for people to have the tools to support people. So you might come in with chronic pain, autoimmune. You can come in with relational stuff, anything you'd see a regular therapist for, job, purpose, worth, truth, being seen, divorce, connections, friend, all of that fun stuff. And you can come in with any of the spiritual topics as well. Like, what am I really here to do? What's my service look like? Why aren't I closer to my higher self? I work with a lot of people that had very strong gifts as children, and their families shut those gifts down, and they're in the process of reclaiming those psychic or mediumship gifts. Some people come in with all sorts of abilities or just unexplainable experiences. I work with people that have had encounters with extra-dimensional beings. They feel they have had abduction or, connections with ET groups. I've heard it all. I guess I say that, but then I keep hearing new things. So I really haven't.
There's more, Leo.
It spans a really wide scope of topics is really all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. From the very mundane to the very interdimensional. And we spend the first hour and a half talking, chit-chatting, so I can find out more about you and your life. So you're not in hypno for 4 hours. You're sitting up and we're talking like this for a good hour and a half. And then I have a good snapshot of who you are and how some of these things came to be. But it's not up to me to tell you any of that or assume where the healing is. So I kind of have all this contextual information. And then in the hypno part, you'll have headphones on. You can put something over your eyes so you can really drop in. I do about 10 minutes of what we call a hypnotic induction, slowing you down so you can drop into that state. It will sound like a guided meditation, relaxation meditation. There are interesting differences, but you won't notice that from your end. You're just going to feel, oh, this is nice. Yeah, my shoulders are dropping. Oh, yeah, my breathing is getting heavier. It seems subtle in the moment until you have to come back out at the end. Like when you're in it, you don't feel like you're on the moon or that you left your body or that it's not hazy. I mean, What was that like for you, that process?
That process is very important because without it, you really can't go anywhere. And I think the first time we did that, I was just naturally trying to override. I was trying to resist the relaxation, which is ridiculous, but here we are. And I remember it took a little bit because my natural state was to push against that. But that is the most important part. And it's just very similar to if you're doing some sort of a guided meditation or, something of that sort. But you're right. On the back end of it, you're like, wow, I didn't realize how relaxed I was. Because at a certain point, I think you just kind of again, your logic brain just goes offline. And so it's just really interesting to settle into that journey. But it cannot be skipped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a lot of people have that kind of resistance. That's that bouncer I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And we all have these parts of uh-oh, what are we going to find? Don't go there. Oh no, abort, alert. Oh no, I don't want to relax. Why is he telling me to relax? Why is he telling me to relax my body? I don't want to relax my body. You can't tell me what to do. You're a man. How dare you tell me to relax? We've got a million. We've all got some version of that. That's okay. I don't expect people to come in and just go to the bottom of the ocean, nor is that even necessary. So that's why, once again, this is another thing a lot of practitioners miss, is there's a modality called parts work therapy where you work with these parts of your mind. Okay, there's a part of you that's feeling resistant to this process. Let's talk to this part of you to hear what they have to say. Mm-hmm. They're the gatekeepers. Most people just want to bulldoze past and again, use their system and just, override. And this again is about inclusion. Okay, you have fears, you have worries, you're wanting to relax, but part of you is not. Okay, let's connect. Let's bring that part of you in and have a conversation. Let's engage with that. And then when they feel heard, seen, and understood, they usually open the gates, and then you're moving and grooving. Mm-hmm. So after the induction, and if there's any resistance, we work through that. Totally fine. Then I just start asking your subconscious mind questions about some of the topics that you are coming in with. So let's say someone's having difficulty being seen in their business, or they're wanting to up level and scale, and they know that comes with more responsibilities or an expansion, and there's something inside of them that feels a little nervous about that. So I just might start with a question like, when you think about the concept of being seen and expansion, just sit with that as a topic for a moment and see if there are emotions that come up, if there are sensations you feel. Does your body open or close? Do you go to a memory or a feeling? Like, we can go so many directions, but I start very broad and kind of get a little test at where they're at, and then we narrow the questions in based on the responses that they give me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that also feels like a nice, you always make me feel like it's up to me how, where we go and how deep we go. And I think that's just like so important in like creating that safety to really just like let whatever's supposed to kind of bubble up, like be. But it's like, even though you're kind of in this hypnotic or trance state, it's like with safety and love and still a level of like control, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the biggest concern people have is, oh God, what if all these things just start rushing out of me, or I can't control, I can't edit myself or pause, or I can't control what's coming out. And that's just not the reality of. I understand that concern, and again, that's just a part that is in fear of, looking at stuff that's not easy to look at. So that's very understandable. Mm-hmm. Like, that's welcomed in these spaces to know that there are things to heal and simultaneously be afraid to go to the place where they need healing. Mm-hmm. And we all have that. Otherwise, they would have been healed. If you weren't scared to heal it, they would have been healed already, probably.
Exactly.
So we all have some level of resistance or fear. Otherwise, you would have done it already.
Yeah.
So all of that is welcome. So I kind of start broad, and then we work our way in, and we pull on the string and see where that feeling takes you. Okay, when you think of expansion, it brings up nervousness, or let's say they start to feel sick, nauseous. Oh God, like all these eyes on me, like becoming bigger, responsibility, holding more money, getting close, being vulnerable. Oh God, like that stuff just starts to bubble up, and we kind of pull on that string and let it lead us to where the roots of that stem from and where that could lead us. It could be in this lifetime, it could be in another lifetime, but most of my work is inner child healing, I would say. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what popped out in my first session.
Yeah, it's not flashy, but it works. That's our foundation.
Yeah.
Like when those core memories are still burdened with heaviness and darkness, like we can really only do so much in our life. Like we can only expand. I say this a lot. We can only go as far as our heaviest part. Mm.
Yeah.
And if I still have these 5, 7, 10, 16-year-olds that are in despair, or they feel forgotten or worthless because of the experiences they had, until that's resolved, like my life is only going to go so far, so smoothly, because it's like I'm wanting to rocket ship forward, but then I have these anchors that I'm pulling with me. And so the whole system gets clunky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, as you were mentioning those layers of sort of protection popping up, I had a memory of our first session where it was like almost like nesting dolls, right? Where it's like there was like one block, one guard after another guard after another guard. And I think they're all like versions of my younger self, So it's just like at age 17, and then, it kind of like go back from there. But as you're just speaking about this, I'm having more memories of like, yeah, I'm like, that's exactly what happened, which is so hard to articulate, like sometimes when you're in it or even when you're past it. But it is really interesting that a lot of this is, you know, like our inner child. Like I think now it's very common to talk about like, oh, I'm doing something for my inner child. Like I'm enjoying whatever it is. My inner child would love this chocolate cake. You know what I mean? Like the most basic example.
Right.
But the concept is now like popular, which I think is an indicator of the fact that like people are realizing that no, this is like such an important part of who we are now. And it's of benefit to go back and try to heal those younger versions of ourselves.
Yeah. The chocolate cake and the run outside and playing in the swing set as an adult will help, absolutely. But what will help even more is when we go back and listen to them and say, I haven't forgotten about you. Even when maybe your parents did, or the world did, or your siblings were mean or difficult. All of these things, maybe you wanted to retreat or go into a shell, and maybe those parts have been in that shell ever since then. And so hypno is the opportunity to go back in time and care for that version of yourself in a really deep and meaningful way. And in that process, they come out of their shell, and you no longer experience the heaviness that was then moving into your life because of that.
Yeah. I'm curious, you basically described any and every scenario in which like you could use hypnotherapy for. Is there anything that you wouldn't recommend using hypnotherapy for?
I would say it's not great with things like acute pain. You know, if you get in a car accident and your body's in a lot of pain, there's only so much I can do for you.
Sure.
I can help you create a new relationship with pain or your body if it's moving slow, or I can help you release the fear of cars or getting back on the road again if you're scared to get in a vehicle. So, you know, I work with a lot of physical illness and pain, but there are just some things that are physical as well. I don't like to claim that it, you know, can do everything.
Got it.
I would say it's the most difficult style of therapy for people that are still in victim mentality. They struggle the most. And that's fine, because we all have times where we're in that, where we want to point the finger. That's a natural reaction to being hurt. Like, I'm only like this because of the world, or because of politics, or because of my brother, or because I didn't get X, Y, or Z. And all those things might be true. But when that's really, really hardened and cemented, that it just creates a belief that we have to wait for all these other things to change or heal until we can feel better. And hypnotherapy is about reclaiming all of those things for yourself, not waiting for the apology, not waiting for forgiveness, not waiting for that person to tell you, you know what, you were right. Because that might never happen. And are you going to be miserable the rest of your life until you do? And so there's layers of victimhood. And again, it's a phase all of us have been in, so there's no judgment, but those are the people that struggle the most, because this is a space of radical honesty and looking at your side of the street. And if that is really hard for you, it's really not the place.
That's helpful.
It's another reason a lot of people cycle in talk therapy forever.
Yeah.
Because they are kind of allowed to cycle in that. Every week, 15 minutes, come here Thursday and vent that everyone sucks and the world sucks. That's great. You vent, but you didn't heal. What did you heal?
No, nothing. So if you're ready to reclaim your own power, your own truth, take things into your own hands.
Yeah.
The truth of hypnosis and hypnotherapy is for you.
Yeah. It's no joke. It's no joke.
Oh, I love it so much. 'Cause I'm like, give me the hard stuff. Give me the deep stuff. Like, give me
what
the
are we here
unusual.
for? Come on.
I'm bored. Like, let's do something interesting.
Yeah. Let's pop open the hood. What do we got going down in there? Let's take a look.
Yep. Absolutely. So I'm curious about how long, if we could call it the effects, right, of doing a healing like this, kind of last and linger as compared to other therapies. We've talked a lot about, as compared to talk therapy or even like psychedelics. Can you speak to just like what someone can expect in terms of the healing and the after process, if you will?
It really matters more about how available that person is for truth more than the modality.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with plant medicine. Someone can come in, and if they are very resistant to looking at themselves, you could do ayahuasca 100 times, but if all of your walls and guards are still up, you're not going to get much of an effect. Whereas someone could do it once and have a lifetime of healing. It's the same thing. You receive the amount of healing as the amount of truth you have capacity to handle.
Mm.
So if you are wildly open to seeing and being with your own self, you will receive that amount of healing and longevity in your session, in all forms of healing.
Like I mentioned earlier, I feel like I live off of my sessions for quite a while. Like we had one in June of this year, and I feel like I'm just like scratching the surface of like kind of my next steps coming out of it, which again is just so fascinating to me because there's so many places to go. I also think it's like really wild to like book an appointment with you because I'm like, hey, I have fleas in my apartment. Like, what the hell is this? And then like somehow come out with like a takeaway around running a low self-worth pattern. Like it's like where we start to where we end is just so incredible and really mind-boggling. And I would say I'm maybe just kind of like 2 months later coming out of my first like step in my path forward. So.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about it. Once you have kind of done it once or twice, like my clients just kind of, they come in for anything because now they know there's always deeper layers and meanings and symbols and reasons for what's showing up in their life, whether it's fleas or a relationship or a job or something breaking down a marriage or relationship. Whatever's going on, they just go, oh God, I gotta go see Leo. I have no idea what's going on. I'm just going to go in and figure it out. Because once again, you could race around your conscious mind forever and ever and ever and just go in a circle trying to figure something out that isn't really logical or isn't located at the surface. So I think now that people have worked with me for a bit, they just go, okay, like I'm smart enough to know that I need to go deeper. And we can do that ourselves too. It's not to lean on this, but it's more of the overarching theme of look at your life more as a symbol.
Yeah.
Symbolically rather than at face value. And that will lead you to a much more interesting depth of healing in any capacity.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think when you can look at anything, like it's not just what's literally happening. There is always some symbolic meaning, I find. And I also feel like that makes life just so much better. When you're like, this isn't just, a face value problem. Like, let's go to open up the hood, like you said, and just like dig into like what's actually happening.
Absolutely.
So effects can last for varying amounts of time, depending on how honest you are with yourself.
Correct.
Got it. In one of your recent YouTube videos, which, by the way, I love the content you've been creating lately. Some really incredible lessons and talks and just really interesting videos. One of your recent ones caught my eye, the one about transforming trauma, and we can link to it here. But in this video, you shared that in all of your years of doing subconscious work, one truth has become clear, which is that deep healing work just reveals more you. The you that emerges is your soul. And so the more you heal, the more your soul emerges. And I think that caught my attention because my whole intention with this show is to be more me, and in hopes that, along the way, my audience can find something to be more them. So I think that language specifically just really drew me in. And I'd love to just expand on this thought and really how hypnosis can help us become more of who we truly are.
Whatever it is that you're healing is not really you. It was a layer that was learned based on the environment and setting you were in at a particular time. Everything you're healing is some version of a mask. And so whatever it is that you heal, as that mask dissolves and reintegrates back into the ocean, for example, you return to more of your authentic, genuine self, because that pattern that was a learned behavior, if that no longer exists in that form, what remains? Well, what remains is whatever was there before. There was a you before that pattern. Mm-hmm. So that's what you return to in the healing. Nobody is born with low self-worth. Nobody's returning back to low self-worth or fear. How many babies do you see in fear, in scarcity, in separation, in disconnection, in untrust? They see you, they trust, they love, they care, they're in their pure existence. So whatever it is you're healing through hypno or otherwise is some version of a falsity. And we have thousands of them, big and small, thousands. And that's okay. It's not to make a constant project out of it. And I think also the more you do the healing work, it becomes oddly enjoyable, the process of like, okay, here's another layer. Wow, I had no idea how judgmental I was. And then it becomes in your face of how judgmental we are. And then we realize, do I want to keep that? Is that me? Is that the me that I really want to exist as? With so many ideas about what everyone else could, should, would be doing. Like, is that the energy I want my mind to be in? Damn, wow, I had no idea. I'm constantly in this state of comparison or looking at what other people are doing in my field. Is that where I want to be? Okay, I can let that one go. With love, with grace, without shaming, without blaming, without being hard on ourselves. Like, I see you. I see this part of me that thought it would be safer if I judged. I'm going to be with that for a while. I'm going to hold this part. And I'm going to remind it that we don't need to exist in that place anymore. We're not in high school. We're going to be just fine without it. Thank you for all the judgments. Thank you for holding this pattern. You can come home now. The droplet of water can go back into the ocean. And as whatever process that looks like, hypnotherapy or otherwise, you become more you. You become more of your soul's essence. Each one of us individual souls have unique particular frequencies. And that is also fascinating too, because without the false version of you, you actually get to find out who you were before that, which you might not even remember if that part's been around for 20, 30 years. If you started avoiding at 4 years old, if you started people pleasing at 5, I had clients say, I started taking care of my mother when I was still in the womb because I could tell the stress she was under. And I started thinking about her over myself before I even came into this world.
Wow.
And that's also why some people resist this process, because number one, they become so identified with these masks. They don't know who they are without them. And that terrifies people. I see that a lot with chronic pain, chronic illness, the autoimmune community, because they have become so identified with whatever it is they're working through. It becomes a community. If I'm not sick, I don't have community. I don't have people worried about me. I don't have concern. People aren't thinking of me if I'm healthy. If I'm doing good, I don't have attention. I don't have something to complain about. I don't have the common ground of pain anymore. Woo!
Ooh.
People don't love that. If I'm not miserable like all of you, now I'm the outsider. And now I'm the outcast because I'm happy and healthy.
Mm-hmm.
That happens a lot in families. Miserable family, bright, happy kid comes in. They all put their crap on the kid. The kid either rebels to fight to keep their light, or they submit and they become miserable like everyone else until they have that moment where they remember who they were before in a flash and go, holy shit, I don't want to be like all of you. You're all miserable. Why did I listen to you in the first place? You were my role models. I wanted to be accepted by you, the people that are miserable. I don't want to feel like you. And then boom, the healing starts. And the unlayering begins, and they learn who they were before that, their soul's essence.
Yep. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You're so good. I'm like, yes, keep talking. I am with you, hanging on every word. That is so fascinating. I think a few things for me, but really, as you're speaking, I was thinking of this idea of like, sometimes it's a remembrance of who we are. And in other times, if you're saying like somebody, they haven't even been born yet and they're already like morphing, it could also just be discovering who we actually are for the first time, taking off all these masks if, they've started with our origin. And I've never really thought about it that way before.
Yeah. And that's why it's easier to just stay in line, do what everyone else is doing, follow the worst thing you could do in a tribal culture is kick someone out, is isolation. What's our worst punishment in society? Solitary confinement. Without being part of the tribe, you go crazy. And sometimes healing and our minds are then linked to that, because if I'm the only one in my family that's going to do something like this, now I'm even more different than all of you. Now I'm even more of the outsider.
Yeah.
And now I relate to all of you even less. And it's also going to come with a lot of actionable things like, now I have to have hard conversations. Now I have to put up boundaries. Now I have to speak up for myself. Now I have to say no to that family trip. No, I'm not going to host for Thanksgiving. No, I'm not okay with this discussion at the table. No, I'm not okay with you putting down this race or trans people in front of me, during Christmas. I have to start doing things that then even highlight my difference even more and put a spotlight on myself in the face of wanting to be more in integrity and truth, which comes with difficult decisions that can come with being the other, which can feel like a punishment.
Yeah. I've often felt like I've been a black sheep throughout my life with friends, with family, and all these areas. And I do resonate with, once you start choosing for yourself things, thought patterns, whatever it may be that go against your immediate communities, whatever they're running, it does amplify that feeling. But I'd rather feel like an outsider than resonate with something that that's not mine, that I don't want to continue to carry. And so I think it's like in that journey, and I'm more used to it now, just doing more work. Like you kind of get used to being like, all right, who's going to say something at family dinner? Like it has to be me if I want to go there. But it's like almost, it becomes easier with time when you kind of just get used to being like, to advocating for yourself or speaking up or just choosing differently based on your own values. And I think that's a part of the healing process that I was not expecting. And had I known that, I probably wouldn't have started. So let's gatekeep that a little bit.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why a lot of times when people start healing, it looks more destructive for a while before it starts to look better. Because all of these things, systems, the life you built from not being conscious about your choices, this is just a byproduct of following the environment around you. And when you realize you don't want that, that means everything that was built from that false framework has to crumble or change in some way. So it can be, healing is a destructive process. Because you're destroying the false masks.
Yeah.
Destroying is an intense word because it's still a part of you. And I always like to it be more of like we're including that part to integrate, with love and care and understanding that this was the best you needed at that moment to survive in this environment. And now we're choosing something different. So, it's an inclusion, but there is an aftermath of things. Yeah. Crumbling.
But through it all, on the other side,
yes,
we are becoming more of who we are. And that feels good.
Yes.
It feels really good.
Yeah. It makes all of the hard choices worth it. Because you get you back.
Yeah.
And there is no better feeling in the whole world than that.
Oh, so good. So good. I really love that. Thank you for expanding on that concept. And I'm going to think about this one for a while.
Ponder. Give it a ponder.
I'm going to be giving it a ponder, and I can't wait. I want to shift gears a little bit because you enrolled me, Leo, in the opportunity to talk about, quote, unusual topics, which I am always down for.
Me? I said that?
You said that.
No, I think
yes,
you got somebody
did.
else.
No. So I want to talk a little bit, and we don't have to touch on all of them, but some of the more unusual topics that you deal with or can kind of work through with your different healing modalities. Some of the suggested topics: past life regressions, soul fragmentation, entity removals. I'm personally interested in hearing about entity removals. What are those? And how do you approach something like that?
Yeah. They always come up in the session, not in the pre-talk. So it's not something I ever suggest or tell someone, hey, you might have an entity. Or it's never something, I never plant that seed because in the end, I don't know. So they are experiences that come up in the session. It looks very different for every person, but essentially it's kind of like exploring a part, except you realize, the part's not me. So we might be in a session like, oh yeah, I always hear this voice that like tells me I'm a piece of crap every time I want to do something good for myself. Always puts me down when I look at myself in the mirror. Tells me, I'm terrible or, I don't deserve anything in this world. And I'll say, okay, let's listen to that voice. Let's explore for a moment. We go through some questions, does it feel male, female, neither? What are the things it says? When is it most activated? How does this voice feel about you? That's usually a very illuminating question, because parts of people always have the person's best, and they always think they're doing the person a favor.
Okay.
If it's a part of you, no matter how destructive the pattern is, like belligerent drinking, violence, whatever part of someone is being expressed, that part always thinks, oh, I'm doing you a service. Because if I'm not angry, then people are going to walk all over you. If I'm not a mean, nasty person, people are going to just have their way with you, just like they did when you were a kid. So I'm the mean one that comes out when you need to get a backbone. So that could be a part of someone that might not look so nice on the surface, to the world, but they think they're doing you a favor. Like if I weren't here with this attitude, you'd be a candle in the wind. And again, they're always from personal experience. They don't just pop up out of nothing. It's because something happened in that person, a part is formed, and then they exhibit that behavior throughout their life. That's a mask, as we were talking about earlier. However, sometimes in that exploration, the person realizes like, this doesn't feel like me. It doesn't have my voice. It doesn't have my energy. I don't feel like, oh yeah, this is a shadowy side to me that I haven't looked like. It feels foreign. Like I can tell me, I can feel my other parts. And one of these is not like the other. And so that's maybe one of the more common entry points to entities in the session. And what an entity is a soul, a spirit that is not you, that for whatever reason attached to another person. Sometimes it's very intentional and deliberate. Sometimes you just happen to be there and wrong place, wrong time. They can cause all hosts of symptoms. It's not just people that hear voices in their head. Like that's number one, entity attachments are very, very common. Most people will pick one up in their lifetime. Most people. A lot of times they leave organically, but the stronger ones can stay. Wow. So they can cause everything. Yeah, physical pain. I've had one say that they caused damage to my client's eggs and womb because they didn't want her having a child, so they made her infertile. Physical pain, sleep disturbances, sleep paralysis, nightmares, intrusive thoughts, harsh inner critic, skin lesions, not looking or feeling like yourself when you look in the mirror, extreme bad luck, just like a string of things that like should work. Like this happens a lot with my clients. Like I got a surgery to repair something. Then when I got home from the surgery, like I fell, then it ripped open where the surgery was and I had to get another surgery. And then I went to the hospital, then it got infected. It was like always like this 1 in a million kind of a thing.
Right.
Like what is going on? That's very common with entity attachments. Just like one thing after another. That is unusual.
Yeah. Wow.
So it could be one of those, any number of those, just extreme depression or fear, anxiety. They can produce anything because they bring all their stuff with them. So whatever they are, they bring all of that into you. I've had some people become racist or homophobic, even though that's not them, but the entity attached to them was.
Wow. That's so wild.
They can come with preferences, memories, like everything, if they are human. So this also gets confusing because there's human entities and there are non-human entities.
What?
So the human ones obviously have human personalities. And in the session, I can talk to them like the part. Hey, how are you doing? How did you attach to my client, Kathy? Well, she was 6 years old and she was at the hospital and no one was taking care of her and her parents were really mean and she was always sick and her field was wide open and I just stepped right in and I've been with her ever since. Okay. And what's your name? Harry. And what year is it for you, Harry? 1392. Okay, Harry. And what have you been doing in the system? Well, I make her hate herself and I give her body pains because I don't want her to heal so much because then she'll leave me and I'll have no one to be with. Okay, Harry. Good to know. Anything else you want to tell her? So sometimes they're, very human, like human. You can talk to them like I'm talking to you now, and they will respond.
Wow.
Just like this, back and forth. Like, no problem.
So in those instances, if that comes up in a session, are you immediately like sharing this back with your client, or are you like holding it to the end? Like, how do you then disclose like that you're like in communication with an entity like Harry?
Well, they're pretty aware because they're the one talking.
Okay.
It's coming from their voice. It's just.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I'm asking the questions, the entity is speaking through my client's voice.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Or sometimes it's relayed, like, listen to what this part that's very negative and critical. I'm going to ask questions and you tell me what it says. What are you critical about? Oh, it told me it's critical when such and such. So sometimes the person might be like the middleman, or sometimes the entity just comes through and was like, hey, I'm Harry and I've been here since she was 6. Okay.
Okay.
And,
Got it.
and we just chit chat like that. So there's different ways to do it, but yeah, that's so those are human ones, and then there's all sorts of weird, strange things out there just that have never been human or don't take a humanoid shape or feeling or personality, and it's an endless subject of fascination for me. I'm kind of the entity guy. It's kind of become my thing. I used to talk about it a lot more online, and I'm going to definitely be making a series about it on YouTube and posting more because, yeah, I have seen some of the most wildly dramatic overnight shifts from people releasing entities. Because it's like they were carrying like a bag full of rocks one day, and then they take it off, and the next day it's gone. There's not a lot of integration because it was never them to begin with.
Right. Oh God, that's so fascinating. And it's also so helpful to know that you're the entity guy.
I'm the entity guy.
Okay.
That's my mission. I don't know how I got this mission, but that's my mission.
But everyone needs an entity guy. Like, because
I got a guy.
Yeah.
I'm the entity guy.
Wow. That is so fascinating.
Another one that might be relatable for people is if they have a friend or a relative or parent that becomes wildly different on a particular substance. It's usually because they kind of leave and the entity that's attached to them gets to be in the driver's seat for a while the person's high or drunk. So I've worked with a lot of clients that are like, when my dad would drink, he would be fine until a different point, and then his eyes would change and it would be someone else. And that's because it was.
Wow. And then you help separate that entity.
Yeah, so if there's something attached, we always remove it, of course. I don't just let it hang out and linger there.
Just
the
checking.
process, we go through, I kind of become the therapist for the entity for a little bit, trying to find its backstory, hear why it attached, if it has any motives. I always get the list of symptoms it's caused and see if there's any relationship between the two. Because sometimes they knew each other in another lifetime. Like, oh, she was my wife. She ran away. She got away from me that lifetime, but she's not getting away from me now. So I vowed to always find her and attach to her. So the person might have reincarnated many times, but the entity waits here and reattaches to them in all those subsequent lifetimes.
Wow. To
get their revenge or whatever it is. Or, he stole my farmland and backstabbed me. And they've got a million stories. But, yeah, so we kind of go through the process of learning more about it. Sometimes there's no connection at all. And it was just like, I don't know, she was there and I hate women. And so I attached to her to make her life hell. I've heard that a few times.
Wow.
Or, this person looked powerless. And sometimes they come with good intentions. Like I've had entities attached where my client grew up with very difficult parents, both of them. And the entity, the spirit might have been like, well, no one else was looking after this kid. Mm-hmm. And they might see part of themselves in that person. Like, I grew up just like this and no one was there to help me. And so they kind of attach to the person to kind of try and help raise them or protect them with their knowledge. But then they kind of just like overstay their welcome. And they get so used to being there and they're like, oh, well, I didn't know when to leave, or I didn't know how, or where do I go? Now we become friends or whatever it is. So it's not always ill-intentioned. I would say it's kind of 50-50, to be honest, from what I've seen. Or they're just very neutral. Like, I don't know, I needed somewhere to go after I died, and I didn't want to go to the light, or I was scared of the light, or I was scared of being judged in heaven. I thought, very religious, if you grow up very religious, if you think you're going to be judged if you go to heaven, you might not want to go to heaven after you die. So then where do you go?
Sure.
Or some people die when they're under a lot of medication. If you are in a hospital getting a surgery and you're under anesthesia and you pass away while under anesthesia, how do you know that you died?
Good question.
So your soul's then in the hospital. My client's visiting the hospital that day and she goes home with this guy.
Wow.
Who died in the other room. Lots of complicated scenarios.
Yeah.
And you can have one. I've had people with 10 or more, multiple. Sometimes you can have, like you said, Russian. They can have clusters and networks. Some can come and go, like in and out of a swinging door. It's a very, very wide, complex subject. And I feel like even after doing this full-time 6 years and it being like my most Fascinating topic. I still feel like I'm scratching the surface with it.
Yeah. Well, it just sounds like there's just so many motivations and factors and forms and really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very.
Thank you for indulging me with your unusual topic.
Anytime. Tip of the iceberg.
Tip of the iceberg. I know. I'm like, that's good. We will come back to that someday. I want to shift gears slightly and talk a little bit about your personal kind of healing process, your tools. I know that one of the things that we both share in common is this idea that we're always learning. We're continually learning. There's always something new that we can be adding to our toolboxes. What are you personally getting into lately on the healing front that's been helpful for you?
Peptides? Peptides and AI, to be honest, that's where I'm at right now.
You have been geeking out on the AI tech.
I've been going in. Yeah, that's kind of, yes. Something is brewing with that.
Okay.
I don't know what yet, but I just think these are all tools. I understand there are serious ramifications with AI. And yet I think it's also up to us healers to figure out their healing capacity as well. Mm-hmm. A tool can be used for destruction and it can be used for beautiful healing. So right now, that's where a lot of my energy is going. I think in the future, it will become a very valuable tool in your therapy sessions. Like you can upload all of your, let's say you go to 10 therapy sessions, you can upload all of your sessions into something like Google Notebook LM, and you can have it analyze. Here's the transcripts of all my sessions. Like, what am I missing? What am I not seeing about myself? Like, what is the topic that I have mentioned the most that I haven't gotten to yet? Like, where are my blind spots? Like, it's a reflective tool. Mm-hmm. It's a pattern. It's a tool that's designed to look at patterns. And human behavior is very pattern based.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of fascinating things we can do with it. But eventually I think where it's going to go is I think it's going to hook up to our biology so that when you're in a session, it's going to be able to read all of your subtle movements. It'll read your nervous system, your heart rate, your blood pressure, your eye movement. So it will be able to recognize the patterns happening underneath, kind of like a lie detector test. And you'll get a printout of like all of the things subconsciously that happened in your session as well.
Wow. That would be really cool. I have a little personal resistance to AI, but I would love. I do think the pattern definition just in general is helpful, whether it's like a friend, a healer, AI. I mean, that's incredible for sure. But the lie detector thing, almost like an aura ring, right? Like it's like reading your like vitals or like changes in.
Yeah, I mean, if it can kind of at some point measure the level of honesty in your responses, you'll be able to see where you're at with the topic. Like, let's say you have a difficult relationship with your mom. You could say something like, and I love and accept my mom. And it will be able to scan and go, well, not really, because your heart just went up 40 beats per minute when you talked about it. So really, you're not at peace with your mom. So you might be saying one thing or trying to convince yourself, but you can't lie to your subconscious body. Mm-hmm. So it will be able to monitor how you actually feel about a topic rather than what you think you feel.
Wow.
That is we're obviously talking way in the future and there's a lot of stuff that has to come into that. But and I'm not buying into that. I don't think anything will really replace human connection and contact. But I'm interested as to, how we can make the most of some of these things. Mm-hmm. Or even maybe eventually there'll be a way to detect if there's an energy around you that's not yours somehow.
Yeah, that could be helpful.
Like, what if you could put your thumbprint on something and it'll scan your field and be like, oh, you got two entities.
And then click a button. Remove, please. Please separate.
I mean, if everything exists on the light wave frequency, it's all electromagnetic waves. Mm-hmm. And there's got to be a way to kind of discern which are organically coming from you and which are external to you. at some point, or where there's like incongruences. I don't know. I go way out with this stuff, but you asked, so that's where I'm at.
I know. Okay, that's what you're learning right now. You're getting into the AI, and I love how your head's at in terms of like, we could make use of it, and here are some ways that it'd be really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cautious, and I'm going to approach it always through the humanistic lens. Like, I'm seeing a lot of prompts of like, tell me about my past lives, or people are uploading their charts and stuff, and give me a message from my angels and ancestors. I don't think that's what it's doing. It's a pattern making recognition at this point. So it's really just mirroring you back to you of what you want to hear at this point. Potentially, I think it has the potential to eventually become more of a multi-dimensional tool. But at this point, I don't think it's there.
Thank you for indulging me. I always love to hear what people are personally like getting into, because now I have 2 more rabbit holes that I can go down. Peptides and AI. I want to wrap our conversation with really an invitation for you to, share anything that I didn't ask you, some words of wisdom, any of your current offerings, invitations, open floor for you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still taking clients one-on-one, and I teach hypnosis. I teach hypnotherapy, practitioner trainings, and intro level training. So if you've ever been curious about this side of hypno, that's obviously more unusual and less taught, I teach. I will be on YouTube a lot more this year as well. That's my biggest path that I'm moving towards right now. So thank you for your kind words about that. It gives me the motivation to keep going.
Absolutely.
And I guess my final words are to keep experimenting with the healing process without feeling like there's one end all be all. You're changing a lot. You're always morphing and updating, and don't be afraid to update and shift your practices. I see people kind of like rigidly stick to workouts or a meditation practice when they've kind of over it and they feel like they've gotten what they need out of it, but they feel like they're just, okay, this is my thing, I'm going to stick to it. Like, don't be afraid to experiment and morph and change and grow with your healing and your practice. And just know that wherever you are, there are always powerful teachers that are at your next stage. I see this a lot too. Like, it's okay to outgrow a teacher. It's okay to outgrow a therapist. It's okay for someone to enter your life and be so helpful and supportive for a time, and to have that moment to be like, and you know what? I'm good. I got what I needed from that. I see people kind of hesitate with that a lot. And I see that in front, back to the thing of your life can crumble a lot in this process. Be open to what falls away on this journey. A length of friendship does not mean you have to keep that person in your life.
Yes.
If something's out of alignment, listen to that. And if something is interesting and intriguing to you, listen to that. Like, look at me with the AI peptide. Like, I'm at the very beginning, but I don't know where it's going. And I was like that with entities too. I'm like, this is the thing that I'm most fascinated by.
Yeah.
How am I going to have a business? How is anyone going to take me seriously? Because when I started my practice and online, that's what my topic was. I came out the gate swinging with all these clips of entity roles. I'm like, I'm trying to convince people to do this and putting the strangest things online. But that is what was most exciting to me. That's what lit me up. I had no idea what it was going to do. And now I teach that to people all around the world and how to do NC removals in their hypnotherapy sessions. And when I think about the overall effect of something like that, now I have maybe 20 people that have gone through that training. That's 20 people out there with a niche skill with a huge demand. It's like a demand that people don't even know. So
right.
That excites me so much to follow those weird threads of joy and excitement, because you will never know where it's going to take you.
Beautiful. I love that encouragement to continue exploring. And I know exactly what you mean by, sticking to routines at times, because there's like pride in that. And like, you're very applauded for being a consistent routine holder, but it doesn't work when it no longer resonates. And so I really appreciate that. And just that continual ebb and flow that you've encouraged, it really resonates. And I will add one thing. We'll link to all of your stuff in the show notes, but one opportunity of yours that I think would be really great for someone who's curious about hypno, but is like not ready to dive in, is you have this beautiful monthly group hypnosis journey. And I love those as well. And I think that can be a great place to start, just to like see what it could be like. And you don't even have to talk in those. You can just show up.
Yeah, you just lay and receive. I can't believe I forgot. That's the best place to start.
Like, that's the perfect place to start. You could also become a teacher as well. But group hypno, I love, and we'll link to everything in the show notes. Leo, I have loved this conversation, this time with you. I think you are such a light. You're so fascinating and so talented. And I'm really glad that our paths have crossed. And I'm glad that I have you as a hypnotherapist and an entity guy, because apparently everyone needs one at some point.
I got a guy.
I got a guy for that. And thank you so much for joining the More Pod.
Thank you so much for having me, being open to the hypno realms and spreading the good word.
Thanks, Leo.
Listen to the More Pod every Wednesday as I share the things that make me more me and discover a thing or two to make you more you.